everyone, welcome back, or if you're new, welcome, and thanks for visiting your new favorite ginger bibliophile. I hope you're all doing really well, and are super excited because back to Hogwarts Day! I mean, what else are you going to celebrate on September 1st? Come on. Well, if you're a big Harry Potter fan like me, anyway. So, I thought, like we did with Harry Potter's birthday, we would commemorate, going back to King's Cross with an excerpt of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And we're skipping a little bit into it because he has some adventures before he gets to King's Cross and goes back to Hogwarts. So, hopefully you've read Harry Potter before. If not, well, we'll give you a little sneak peek and maybe make another fan out of you. Because we'll be starting with the Whomping Willow, which, if I come back as a tree, I'm totally being a Whomping Willow. I want to beat the crap out of people. It's like, oh, you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. And well, the redhead in me might come out. But that tree definitely is not being cut down anytime soon. That one can defend itself. And then we have also got a nice, cool picture there of said abusive Whomping Willow, which I'll be reading and kind of resting on my awesome Harry Potter pillow. If you didn't notice, I got the Marauders map blankie behind me there. So what do you say? Shall we get into it and go back to Hogwarts? The end of summer vacation came too quickly for Harry's liking. He was looking forward to getting back to Hogwarts, but his month at the Burrow had been the happiest of his life. It was difficult not to feel jealous of Ron when he thought of the Dursleys and the sort of welcome he could expect next time he turned up on Privet Drive. On their last evening, Mrs. Weasley conjured up a sumptuous dinner that included all of Harry's favorite things, ending with a mouth-watering treacle pudding. Fred and George rounded off the evening with a display of filibuster fireworks. They filled the kitchen with red and blue stars that bounced from ceiling to wall for at least half an hour. Then it was time for a last mug of hot chocolate in bed. It took a long while to get started next morning. They were up at dawn, but somehow they still seemed to have a great deal to do. And then I accidentally turned 2 pages instead of 1. Mrs. Weasley dashed about in a bad mood looking for spare socks and quills. People kept colliding on the stairs, half dressed with bits of toast in their hands. And Mr. Weasley nearly broke his neck, tripping over a stray chicken as he crossed the yard carrying Ginny's trunk to the car. Harry couldn't see how 8 people, 6 large trunks, 2 owls, and a rat were going to fit into one small Ford Anglia. He had reckoned, of course, without the special features that Mr. Weasley had added. Not a word to Molly, he whispered to Harry as he opened the trunk and showed him how it had been magically expanded so that the luggage fitted easily. When at last they were all in the car, Mrs. Weasley glanced into the back seat where Harry, Ron, Fred, George, and Percy were all sitting comfortably side by side and said, "Muggles do know more than we give them credit for, don't they?" She and Ginny got into the front seat, which had been stretched so that it resembled a park bench. I mean, you'd never know it was this roomy from the outside, would you? Mr. Weasley started up the engine, and they trundled out of the yard, Harry turning back for a last look at the house. He barely had time to wonder when he'd see it again when they were back. George had forgotten his box of filibuster fireworks. 5 minutes after that, they skidded to a halt in the yard so Fred could run in for his broomstick. They had almost reached the highway when Ginny shrieked that she had left her diary. By the time she had clambered back into the car, they were running very late, and tempers were running high. Mr. Weasley glanced at his watch and then at his wife. "Molly, dear." "No, Arthur." "No one would see. This little button here is an invisibility booster I installed. That'd get us up in the air, then we fly above the clouds. We'd be there in 10 minutes, and no one would be any the wiser." "I said no, Arthur. Not in broad daylight." They reached King's Cross at 11:15. Mr. Weasley dashed across the road to get trolleys for their trunks, and they all hurried into the station. King's Cross. I get to go to the, Universal version of it in Orlando, and it's awesome. Definitely check it out one of these days if you can. So, Harry had caught the Hogwarts Express the previous year. The tricky part was getting onto platform 9 3/4, which wasn't visible to the Muggle eye. What you had to do was walk through the solid barrier dividing platforms 9 and 10. It didn't hurt, but it had to be done carefully so that none of the Muggles noticed you vanishing. Percy first, said Mrs. Weasley, looking nervously at the clock overhead, which showed they had only 5 minutes to disappear casually through the barrier. Percy strode briskly forward and vanished. Mr. Weasley went next. Fred and George followed. I'll take Ginny and you two come right after us, Mrs. Weasley told Harry and Ron, grabbing Ginny's hand and setting off. In the blink of an eye, they were gone. Let's go together. We've only got a minute, Ron said to Harry. Harry made sure that Hedwig's cage was safely wedged on top of his trunk and wheeled his trolley around to face the barrier. He felt perfectly confident this wasn't nearly as uncomfortable as using flue powder. Both of them bent low over the handles of their trolleys and walked purposefully toward the barrier, gathering speed. A few feet away from it, they broke into a run and crash! Both trolleys hit the barrier and bounced backward. Ron's trunk fell off with a loud thump. Harry was knocked off his feet, and Hedwig's cage bounced onto the shiny floor and she rolled away, shrieking indignantly. People all around them stared, and a guard nearby yelled, "What in the blazes do you think you're doing?" Lost control of the trolley, Harry gasped, clutching his ribs as he got up. Ron ran to pick up Hedwig, who was causing such a scene that there was a lot of muttering about cruelty to animals from the surrounding crowd. Would be kind of fun if they tried to surround a cow. I don't think that'd go too well. Might be adorable, but a little smelly. Why can't we get through? Harry hissed to Ron. I don't know. Ron looked wildly around. A dozen curious people were still watching them. We're going to miss the train, Ron whispered. I don't understand why the gateway sealed itself. Harry looked up at the giant clock with a sickening feeling in the pit of his stomach. 10 seconds. 9 seconds. He wheeled his trolley forward cautiously until it was right against the barrier and pushed with all his might. The metal remained solid. 3 seconds. 2 seconds. 1 second. It's gone, said Ron, sounding stunned. The train's left. What if Mom and Dad can't get back through to us? Have you got any Muggle money? Harry gave a hollow laugh. The Dursleys haven't given me pocket money for 6 years. Ron pressed his ear to the cold barrier. Can't hear a thing. What are we gonna do? I don't know how long it'll take Mom and Dad to get back to us. They looked around. People were still watching them, mainly because of Hedwig's continued screeches. I think we'd better go and wait by the car, said Harry. We're attracting too much attention. Harry, said Ron, his eyes gleaming. The car! What about it? We can fly the car to Hogwarts. But I thought, we're stuck, right? And we've got to get to school, haven't we? And even underage wizards are allowed to use magic if it's a real emergency. Section 19 or something of the restriction of thingy. But your Mom and Dad, said Harry, pushing against the barrier again in the vain hope that it would give way. With a cute vision from a puppy. Yes. Oh, thank you, little man. I might not have a cute snowy owl, but I got a cute puppy. Yes. I ask a busker. Apparently he likes Harry Potter. Don't you, little man? Or do you just love Mommy and need some chest rubs? Yeah, I think he just needs some chest rubs. Huh. He's being a little extra slouchy today, but I promise he's there. Yes. Well, hopefully, now that we've completely lost our flow, that should have gotten your attention a little bit. And I hope you're excited to go back to Hogwarts today as well and have a magical day. And the little, say bye-bye, Oscar. Well, he knows his name, but he ain't saying bye-bye. So I'll say it for him. Say bye-bye. Bye. Happy reading and Hope it's magical!